Hello, I am Drew Ray, author and illustrator of the book The Tale Unknown, Book 1, and today I am going to be answering the top 10 questions that I have received through messages or on my live streams about the captain and who he is. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Number one question I've been asked is, who is the captain at face value? And I would say that he's a lot like any other pirate captain that you've ever heard of in different fantasy stories. He's a strong leader and he is very intelligent, and he really is a character that is supposed to reach this goal of telling the tale unknown and discovering all 7 mythical lands that have been passed down through stories through the generations. And he's really trying to just achieve this goal over time. And that is who he is at face value. He's a 20-year-old man at the beginning of the story. You get to hear a little bit about his origin, and then it dives right into his perspective using captain's logs and entries that he gets to basically tell you about the journey through his perspective. The next question that I get is, who is the captain beneath the surface? And I would say he is a boy who is looking for approval, and he's looking for not necessarily treasure or gold or anything like that, but he is a person who really likes to seek knowledge, and he is really driven on this concept of learning the truth behind things. And I would say that that is who the captain really is a truth seeker, somebody who's really interested in learning as much as he possibly can about the world that he lives in. The next question is, symbolically, who or what does this character represent? And to me, all the characters are actually supposed to be physical manifestations of different mental disorders that I have been diagnosed with over the past couple of years of writing this story. And the captain to me represents OCD. And this can easily be found in the poem that is my favorite poem in the entire story, called Over Countless Days, OCD, Over Countless Days. And this story really tries to bridge the gap between the physical, spiritual, and psychological thresholds that you cross throughout your life. So to me, symbolically, he is my manifestation of my OCD and how it presents itself. And he has a lot of really intricate details behind him that I have planted throughout the story to try to drive this psychological concept home. The next question that I get is, where did this character come from? And what is his origin from my perspective as the creator of this? So the main thing that drove me to start writing these characters as these manifestations of mental disorders is I have been diagnosed with quite a few over the last few years, and I have been using poetry and art to try and learn more about myself and learn more about these mental disorders through music therapy and art therapy and just various different therapy methods. And I really wanted to explore what it would be like trying to write characters based on these types of concepts. So for me, that's really like where he came from as far as like a feeling or an idea. But what really inspired to make him like this pirate captain was I wanted to transform all of these ideas that I had for poems that were very personal and very deep and meaningful to me into a narrative. And the concept of a captain and pirate folklore to me was always really, really cool growing up. Um, I always, got interested in stories about pirates and just what kind of drives them. And usually the driving force is treasure or gold or things like that, that is really about like greed and what do I have to gain. But what I wanted for the captain was something more personal, and I am a big truth seeker and knowledge seeker. So to me, it was really about like, how can I write a pirate captain who isn't interested in just these material goods, but who is really interested in truth and meaning and trying to find your purpose in this world. Um, the next question that I get is, what is the captain's core wound or driving force? Like, what broke him? What is he chasing? What is he running from? And like I have been saying, it's really all about knowledge and truth and trying to find your purpose within this world. Um, I think that it's very apparent that he is very purpose driven and wants to understand and play his part in the grand scheme of things. He really feels like it is a part of his destiny to be the one to return home and tell of all of these truths behind these lands that they have just heard from their generational stories over time. And he's really driven based on, the tales that he was told as a kid by his father. So I would say that a lot of the things that he's chasing is just these dreams of his parent, his dad. And he really wants to prove everything over time. And I would say that that is kind of his driving force. But what his core wound is would be his mental disorder of OCD and how it drives him to keep repeating tasks and keep repeating things and spiraling mentally. You get a lot of that when he gets cursed. You get to see his real downfall and how he, emerges transformed by the end of the story. Um, so, how he changes over time is another question that I've often been asked. And he evolves by learning about the self and learning about the purpose in the world that he serves. And book two is going to go a lot more in depth on his transformation, but also transformation for all of the other characters. I think that's a really big arc in all of my writing and all of my doing, is this concept of great transformation and learning more about yourself over time and more about things that you can do to fulfill yourself as a person. So it's a very deep and personal project, and it's, you know very awesome being able to tell this story through his lens. His relationship to the world around him, how he interacts with people, and how the world like reacts to him as a character. Like I said, he is the main character of the story, so a lot revolves around him. But he spends, I would say, about 70% of the story dead. And you have to navigate how his experience in this like purgatorial spiritual realm is. Like you have to journey with him throughout Devil's Island, and going through and interacting with Pandora and Lilith, who are other characters that we'll do deep dives on in the future. But for now, without spoiling too much, I would just say that um, he is the driving force of purpose and destiny and what it means to be on this world. He is the manifestation of OCD, like we've talked about already. But I think that those compulsions really drive him to wanting to understand as much as he possibly can. So everything that he does and everybody he interacts with, he is always trying to search for new knowledge and gain knowledge about purpose. And it is his passion to, search through the entire world and figure out what it means to be in the unknown. And the next question that I get is, what part of myself exists in this character? Obviously, it would be the OCD tie-in, but I think it's more my drive and my determination to try and heal throughout this entire process. He is what I would say is not only one of the more complex mental disorders that I try to tackle using this story, but he is also who I am trying to use as a character of healing and a personal journey. Somebody who is, meant to grow and thrive as the story moves on. And the final question that I was asked is, what should people really pay attention to that they might miss? And I would say I have a lot of hidden meanings and a lot of symbology planted within the story and within the artwork. And I would say that things to pay attention to, specifically when it comes to the captain, is over time inside the poems, try to stay hooked on his subtle descent into what he feels is madness and his reflection on it. I think that is something that so far readers that I've had have really glossed over, is just like this slow decline and slow rise as well on the other side, the healing journey. So I would say that is something that you might want to pay attention to that you could miss, is just like descent into healing. And I think to summarize the entire thing is, the captain is meant to not only be understood but also be felt. I want people to read the story and understand like what it's like to have these different mental disorders, but also to feel like you are in the mindset of somebody with each one of the mental disorders that I go through within the different poems and artwork. So I would say, keep on reading and keep on looking at my art and different things like that. And over time, you'll find a lot of these clues and a lot of these things that I've dropped in um, as symbols and things like that. Um, yeah, I would say that is what I really want, is for people to feel this character and feel the characters in general. I want them to really try to grasp what it feels like having certain mental disorders. Um, with all that being said, I want to take the time to say you can um, purchase my book at the links below. I'll leave the Amazon link and the Barnes and Noble link. You can check out all of the artwork on my website at https://liminalstudio.art. That is my main website where I'll be posting things like the hardback copy of The Tale Unknown, which will be more of like the collector's edition, and limited print drops will be going up there on my website as well. If you want to learn more about The Tale Unknown or learn more about the different characters, please feel free to like this content, subscribe to the channel, give me a big thumbs up. It really helps me out, and I would be happy to discuss things in my DMs on the different social media platforms. But yeah, I really hope that people will be driven to try to understand and feel these characters throughout this story. So, thank you so much for your time, and I will see you in the next deep dive. Thank you so much. Goodbye.